still, and then at the same time, it's like speeding by. It's so, so crazy.
It's insane. But thank you for having me. I just love you guys, and you make my heart so happy. So
oh, you're so, so sweet. It's so nice to see you again, girl. Honestly, I had such a good time last time. So this time, have you made up any other quarantine games? I think last time was it Cheetos that you were doing something with?
Oh, yeah, something like that. I think it was on the wall, and I was catching it, girl. I was clearly just bored.
You were living your best quarantine life. But since then, I mean, speaking of being productive in quarantine, you just decided to go ahead and like release the book. I don't know, 2020.
Finally. It's been years in the making. It's crazy. You know what though? If I didn't have this time, I would not have completed it. It's yeah, it really was a real thing. So I'm just thankful that I got
this. Has honestly, yeah, and I don't always get the time to be able to read full books before talking to people. I literally, and I'm not even just saying this, I couldn't put it down. I was running to it on Audible. I was reading it before I went to bed. I'm so serious. You are an incredible writer. It was not only, I'm serious, it wasn't just conversational. It wasn't just easy to read. It was like so honest, just so honest. So thank you for being vulnerable. How are you feeling with it out there in the world now and just out? Is it exciting, exposing, scary, all of the above?
All of the above, but mostly so unbelievably exciting. And thank you for taking the time to fully read the book and to say those words. That means the world to me because I put, you put little markers. That's so cute. That's awesome. Man, there's so much love that went into this book.
You can tell.
And so much heart and so much emotion and pain and ups and downs. So much from my soul, and not even just me, but from my family. My family stories, the beautiful things that we've seen come to pass. It has just been a labor of love. It's been challenging. I had my moments where I almost gave up, where I was crying.
I was wondering.
All-nighters where I was like, I can't do this, but I have to do this. But it was so beyond worth it, and beyond just so something that was a milestone for my family and I. So the fact that anybody reads my book, and especially you, and you loved it the way that I hoped, is just means more to me than words.
I did, and I know obviously your fans are some of the most loyal, kind, stunning people on the planet. And so I know,
I love you guys.
Shout out to Ali's fans. But one of the things I loved about it, and you just mentioned it, how much it meant to your family, because in listening, I think this section I was on a run when I was listening to it, and didn't know that when you were on the reality show that you were on, that you didn't necessarily feel represented at the beginning, and like TV, especially reality shows can do, and producing and all that stuff, it really can be a disappointing experience. And it'll feel like that's not the real me, and part of you and your story. You were so intentional, it felt like, talking about the price that your family's paid, and your incredible mom and brother and your dad, and all the things that's gone into that. Was that a really important thing for you to be talking about in the book?
Oh, yes. I had worked so hard, not just me, but my parents and I, my family, we sacrificed so much for a dream at such a young age, back and forth for many years, from San Antonio to Los Angeles. My dad jeopardizing his job, my mom jeopardizing her health, splitting our family, my brother being in San Antonio with my dad swapping. I mean, it was a lot that we went through, and then to finally get this incredible opportunity
to tell the world.
To in front of the whole world, finally worked my whole life, and then my audition being edited the way it was, and there's so much hate and pain and agony that came out of it, was completely devastating, not only for me, but for my parents. I mean, that's what struck me the most, because they put their lives basically on the line for my career, and and we were just so excited for this breakthrough moment, and then for it to, the magic to be shattered was hard. But being able to tell my story and to show how I overcame, show young girls and my readers out there that, hey, that was a dark day, and that was a hard time, that was an obstacle, that was a God, why did you allow this to happen moment, but I got through it, and this is how. And just highlighting the strength of my parents and my faith, carried me through, was so meaningful to me, and that's what I wanted to shine about.
And it really did. As someone that obviously from Australia, I have a very close family as well in Australia, and so we are a big, loud, just probably very offensive Australian family, and so you know all the jokes that are just in your family, and so we talk every day. So that was something that I so related to in being away from your family, and then and there's so much I want to get to, but again, being so vulnerable in it and really being able to, for the first time, maybe set the record straight on some things that you had been so gracefully quiet about. And girl, here's the other thing. When you're telling the truth, you're still so sweet about it. I was like, I'm sure your fans are the same, and I can't imagine your family. Like, when I was hearing about some of the online bullying and the shaming and that, I was fuming for you. I was like, they're going to get the Australian coming up after them. Like, did you?
I wish I would have known you back then.
Girl, I'm telling you, I've got you.
Like, you've got me, girl. I'll call you and say, listen, girl, this happened. Oh my God.
Send a kangaroo after them or something. I don't know.
Yes.
Send some kind of Australian beast. I don't know. We have plenty of them. But I think that, like, what I found so beautiful was the vulnerability in it. And I've been thinking about and doing a lot of research lately, because 2020, on the difference on loneliness and right. And
this year,
I feel like vulnerability is a muscle, and we have to work it and we have to get it stronger. But just like we're getting our muscles and physically stronger, there's pain involved, and it's sore and it's stretching.
Right. Oh my gosh, that is such an awesome way to put it.
How I want you to talk about it, because you've just put it into action. There you go. We're twins, twin books. We love that. How did that feel in the process? Did it feel like that muscle being stretched? And was there a specific moment that you were like, or a specific story that you were telling that it just broke you on a different layer, or healed a different layer than you didn't know was even there?
So many. Oh my gosh. Well, I do, open up in my book about how I, was really nervous to be vulnerable for a very long time. I struggled with it. I think I was just scared that people would just instantly see me as weak or not enough or not strong. And that's very hard, especially as a young woman in this business. You're trying to keep up a certain image, and you have, people and voices around you telling you one thing. But finally being in a place in my life recently where I do feel like I have found literally, no pun intended, not to be cheesy. It's going to be cheesy, but I found my harmony. I got to say it. And I am able to find that inner confidence to be who I want to be, to say what I want to say, to share from my heart, to be real with my fans and my readers. This book was the perfect opportunity to do that. When you write a book, that's the purpose, to connect through your pain, through your trials, through your walk. And that was something that was so powerful for me and so healing, and so many stories. I mean, just being able to even look back at a moment where after Fifth Harmony, I went to go find these labels, and so optimistic and excited, and only met with rejection, door closed after closed after, closed. And it was agonizing because there was no really at the time other option. And just being like, God, I've been through all this and worked so hard and sacrificed so much, and have been trying to go in your path and not stray, when I was, I could have, many times. And then just for it to feel like it's not being, not being rewarded yet, or like, it's not being blessed. I was very sad and questioning, and I had days where I was just crying, and it was hard to imagine what my life was going to look like.
Totally.
But I had a mustard seed of faith, and looking at that story today, just like, wow, God has rescued me. It wasn't the way I looked. I mean, I thought of
never is.
It never is. But learning to accept that and to trust, just to trust Him. That's like the theme of my life. And then also another story with my grandpa, who was named Dada, who I open up about in the
Yeah.
book, that was something that was so personal.
Yeah.
I didn't even tell my fans about him, you know, that nobody knew about him because of our relationship in the past. But seeing how right in front of my eyes, it still gets me, is God performed a miracle of healing in my family. We reconciled, you know, in his last 2 weeks of life. And that's the type of stuff that leaves me, leaves someone changed. And it changed me and my heart and my purpose for my life. And just seeing that love and seeing, like I say in the book, seeing the decades of emotion just be gone, you know, was so beautiful and so healing. And revisiting that was hard, but it was also beautiful. And I get to tell the world about him and his story and share that miracles do happen and it's extraordinary. And then also another thing that I opened up about was my uncle, you know, while I was at a high in my solo career, you know, my uncle was battling throat cancer, and that was awful for our family. It was so devastating and heartbreaking, and I was in the midst of, you know, being on tour and you know, finally having success and balancing all of that. And you know, for months and months it was really, really bad and a dark time for, you know, our family. But by the grace of God, you know, we came together, we prayed, we believed that he would find healing, we believed in the power of prayer, and we saw that God healed him from cancer. And to this day, he's cancer free, and it just gives me goosebumps all over my body. It's just
incredible. And it's what you just touched on, and there's a million more stories in the book that it just felt like there was story after story, but there were themes, there were recurring themes that you've really battled with in your life. And one of those themes I'm noticing is that almost they're like, I got so close and then it felt like it happened again. And how did you, if someone's watching right now, right, and they're like, I get that, I felt like my career was just taking off and then 2020 pandemic happened, or I don't even know, last time I was talking to you, you were literally, when I was like, you were on tour and then you stopped, I had no idea of the I was like, the poor girl, the fact that she was still smiling, like reading, I was like, oh man. But how, if someone's watching and they're in that almost, like, I feel like I just almost get there and then I don't, what would be something from your experience really being an overcomer in that you'd say?
Yes. Well, girl, yes. Now you understand. Right?
I get it.
You get it. Man, it's so much more, you know, and I feel like, you know, this book, it's a beautiful opportunity to show people, you know, just everything that I've been through. I've been through a lot. And that's why I wrote a book, because, you know, in my experience, in my life lessons, I'm able to pass on how I overcame them. And one of those pieces of advice for anybody who's, like you said, in that almost stage, I would say to just hang on tight, breathe, to keep the faith. One of my favorite words that I share in my book is believe. When you believe that something greater is on the other side, when you believe that God truly has you and has you covered and has you protected, when you believe in healing, whatever that may be, even just the tiniest amount of faith can move mountains. And take it from me, many times I've had those moments and I felt like hope is lost. I felt that, and you feel shattered. You feel like your spirit's just gone. But please know that there is so much ahead of you. And yes, you're gonna have heartbreak. You're gonna have some prayers being answered in ways that you may not have wanted, but the Lord always has a plan. His plan is greater and sweeter. There's so many lessons to learn, and we all connect through our struggles, no matter who we are, no matter where we come from. We're not alone. And just believing, again, just that little ounce that says, I believe that I'm going to overcome this. It might be a week, it might be a year, it might be 2 years. That is powerful. So
and
please.
I love that. And you mentioned in it when the doors were closing with the record labels, and not only were you learning how to be confident in those rooms, which was interesting to watch. God's always preparing us, even when there's disappointment, he's preparing us for the next thing. And yet you said in the book, you're like, what I didn't know in that disappointing moment when you found out they passed, was that it would only be a few weeks. And isn't that so like God, that we have no idea in the moment? So it might be feeling like the door is closed, but hindsight is the superpower that I would want to have, because to know that it's only around the corner when God's going to come through. It's so cool. It's so cool. One of the other themes that I thought was really interesting was you going from comparison to confidence. You really exchanging comparison in a lot of different areas, whether it was your upbringing as Mexican American, or not looking like the people around you, or even the financial stuff where your mom would she's such a boss, would like sew costumes together on a budget, or even in Fifth Harmony, some of the stuff that you were comparing yourself with there, or your personal choices as a Christian in faith. What was the toughest one to go from comparing people around you to accepting the confidence?
Oh man, that's a really great question.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my gosh, so dang. I think even just like recently, when I even like with social media and stuff, I think social media is awesome, but it also has its negative moments, like I write about. I think even just like learning to not compare myself to anybody else, whether it's I don't know, like the smallest things, or maybe like, I don't know, like, you know, sometimes you have your moments where you're like, oh man, like I'm having a pimple right now and I don't feel my best, and her skin's so beautiful and I wish I had that, and like, oh my gosh, you know. You kind of just compare yourself in so many different ways. Just learning to let that go was just, oof, that's when the magic really started to happen. And just knowing that we as individuals have our own purpose in life. We're not meant to be, to have the same stories, to have the same outcomes. We're part of something so much greater than ourselves. And once we recognize that and cheer everybody on, and also cheer ourselves on, that is when the most beautiful thing starts happening. And I think that's with everything, with career, with family, with relationships, with friendships. That to me has been so beautiful. And then also owning my vulnerability and owning my truth, you know, sharing very personal moments, you know, my personal choices that I decided to open up about, and celebrating that I was finally, you know, that I'm finally at a place where I'm confident to use my voice and to share my story. It took a very long time for me to get to this place, and I know there's so many girls who feel that way. They're nervous to, you know, maybe share their truths, or maybe to, you know, whether it's big or small, make their voices be heard. But I just want to encourage all those girls and people to use your voice, to be who you are and who you want to be, because life is too short to live for other, how do you say, in your own negativity, in your own fear.
Yes. And that's the thing. It's a process. Hey, because it's not like one day a switch is flipped, or is it a flip switch? A switch is something, whatever it is. A switch is flipped and you're like, okay, now I'm confident. I'm not comparing. Comparison is a lifelong thing, but it's lifelong. As we embrace the vulnerability, it's the muscle. We get better. We get stronger at it. And
girl.
You see it. You even see it throughout the book, and it's so beautiful. But if the comparison wasn't enough and the differences weren't enough, then you get in Fifth Harmony and the online bullying like happened. Like I was like heating up when I was reading about it, but because you were, and just like the body shaming stuff of like, you were on these red carpets wearing designers I bet you dreamed of wearing, only to go home to a hotel room or to your apartment and feel like you're not enough. How that contrast, can you talk a bit about those moments of just, you think that something's going to fix it, and that's why comparison's tough, right? It's because we think something will fix it. But what was those moments like for you?
That was so tough. I mean, being body shamed right when you're in, you know, the biggest girl group in the world, you're at the height.
You can't hide anywhere.
Yeah, right. You literally can't hide. And then you feel like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm not enough, I'm not pretty, I'm ugly, and I'm not okay. And then you start to think, what are my peers thinking? What is my label thinking? Is this going to change the way that, you know, even more like the way that I don't know, get parts? You start thinking crazy things because
Totally.
that happens. That happens. And so it's a horrible feeling, you know, because you feel like you're just not enough and it's awful. But being on the other side and now getting to a place where, you know, I had to endure a lot and just persevere day after day, keep, you know, the finish line in mind, and know that this is all just beginning and part of a greater plan. That was something that I learned along the way. And I got love from my fans, I got love from my family, from my friends, and that's what held me on. And of course my faith in God, just saying like, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Now, thank God, we're in a time where all types of bodies and sizes and shapes are celebrated. And I always like to say, whenever I talk about this, that, you know, I just don't want anyone to ever feel the way I did on that beach.
Yeah. Never. It's not okay. Never was okay. Thank God. Like I said, you were able to, with grace, rise above that. Did you have a clap back? Were there any like temptations? Like I would.
I almost did, girl. I think one time I was gonna send a tweet like, no, you know, I am beautiful and blah blah blah.
I'm fearfully and wonderfully made.
Right? Yeah. I don't think I did. We can
Of
ask my fan. Yeah, because I wasn't at that time. I was not confident enough to do any of that.
Yeah.
I feel like now I would be, or I would definitely be like, okay, listen, this is who I am, and no one can take that away from me, and don't you dare try to come after me and my body.
I would have done it for you. I would have been like, don't you make
Yes, girl. See, it's awesome to have people you can count on who have you back.
I got you. I want to be respectful of your time, but I do want to touch on, there was such an interesting moment as you transitioned from the group to solo, and that whole, we say it's a moment, but it's like there was so much involved in that. I came off early this year. I resigned from being on a church staff that I had been on for years, and the reason I say this is because I didn't realize how much of my identity was in somewhere that I had no idea that my identity was in. And I was like, who am I? What do I want? What do I want to say? Even like you talk, finding your voice, finding your harmony.
Yes.
Isn't it interesting that so often looking back, we don't realize what our identity is being found in, whether it's jobs, girl groups, careers, relationships, whatever it is. Did you have a similar experience when you were separating from the group, and how did you navigate it?
Oh, yes. It was hard. You know, it was hard accepting that the group was coming to an end. I didn't want to accept it. I didn't want us to end. I was mad, you know, and I was really sad and all these emotions. But then finally, when it clicked, you know, after I processed that, when it clicked that, oh my gosh, the dream that I have been working on my entire life, I sacrificed my childhood for, and a lot of just my life for, is about to come true. Being a solo artist, that was the most gratifying, most beautiful feeling. And like I write in my book, it felt like my life has only just begun. And it was incredible. And you know, I think in the group, I know in the group, I really struggled with my identity, who I was. I felt like at times I was totally being valued and loved, but then a lot of times I wasn't being valued. And I didn't feel like I had any worth because I was told that I didn't, you know, at several times. That was awful, you know, and still having to go out and smile. But I learned a lot. There's a lot of highs, of course, a lot of lessons. And then out of Fifth Harmony, it was just this amazing transition of, I get to finally be who I want to be. I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to, you know, find a brand new team for me, people who love me and value me and believe in me and my vision. And it took a lot of time, you know, it was, as you saw, it took a lot longer than I thought, but it finally happened. And now I'm here at this moment where I'm so happy, and I feel I'm the happiest I've ever been, and I'm thriving. And it's beyond what I could have imagined, honestly. And that's why I named it, you know, finding your harmony, dream big, have faith, and achieve more than you can imagine, because with those things, magic happens. And it's not an easy path, guys, but it's totally worth it.
Oh, so worth it. And it's not, again, it's not a moment, right? It's not like we're like, okay, that's my identity now. Guess I'm not with the group anymore. I'm Allie. Like, it's a continual thing of us, of allowing God to clear out the clutter of the, get ready for the alliteration, of the things we're clinging to. And that even this year has been another thing. Have you realized anything, because I have even, have you realized anything this year that you were like, oh, didn't know I was clinging on to that you felt like God's removed?
I think still just that vulnerability thing. I was scared to kind of just own who I was. Even like on Instagram, I'm starting to now open up more about different things, you know, maybe things that I'm feeling, and different things that I'm going through. Obviously the book has helped to open that just tremendously, more than any post could ever do that. But I think, and also I'm learning to let go of not being perfect. I've always wanted to be perfect, to be professional, to be, a people pleaser, to make sure everyone's okay. But we can't do that as human beings. Like, you just can't, you know, and you have to, there's a balance, like always for me, putting like people first. But when I need to take a beat, or when I don't feel like talking, or when I don't feel like smiling, or when I don't feel like putting on makeup, or when I don't feel okay, when I need to take a beat, that's okay to take a beat. And just knowing that it's okay not to be perfect. In fact, that's being human, and that's what being human's all about. It's figuring it out together and having a community to do that with, you know, like my fans, like you guys, and people like you know, inspire me and help me too, to know that we're all human. We're all fighting our own battles, and it's okay, you know, like cry if I want to cry. I used to be told by people in the industry that I was weak for crying and I was too emotional, and it's like, what? Like, I'm a human being, and things affect human beings differently. I'm a deep feeler, you know. When I'm happy, I'm on top of the world, and when I'm sad, I'm broken. I've gotten a lot better at like managing that, but you know, I think people should process their feelings the way that they feel, and just be human.
And that's the beauty in that, isn't it? Is that when you wear your heart on your sleeve, that's the reason God's got you in your position, is because he made you like that. He made us the way he made us. And when we allow him to use that and we bring him into it, so it's not about my emotions ruling my entire life, but I get it. I feel so deeply, and sometimes I'm like, God, why did you make me feel like, why did you make me and
that's what I am, an empath.
It's because he needs you to connect with people like that. And you can feel it in this book, and it is so encouraging. It is so inspiring. There was one point, I can't remember what it was. I was running and you'd said something, because you had these little pep talks along the way. You go like Tony Robbins on us. And you're like, listen, if you need help right now, it's in the book. You guys gotta read it. But I was crying when I was running, because there was something that it was, I can't talk about it now because I'll cry. Woo! All right, it's fine. We're good. But it's so, I love having people that you just feel. And it's like, I heard you and I felt you, and you don't have to have the same experience as someone to relate to their emotions. And I think that is I don't have to have been in Fifth Harmony. Can you imagine? I was like, surprise guys, I was the Australian member. I was six Harmony. But like, I think that like, that's the beauty of it, is that we don't have to have shared the same path to relate to each other. And that is what people are going to find in this book.
Thank you so much. I that's just so beautiful to me that you felt that. Again, just so much love was put into it, and also just thinking of my fans and like, how can I help people through my story? So I'm just so blessed that you said that. Thank you for valuing my story and for reading it. It just means everything.
Girl. And I hope everybody goes and reads it. Before we finish, 3 quick things. What do you hope people take away from it? What's the biggest lesson you've learned this year? What's your favorite thing about me? No, I won't ask that.
Yes, girl!
Okay, we'll finish with what's your favorite thing about me? We love that. We'll do it for each other. Biggest thing you want people to take away, and your biggest lesson this year?
Okay, so biggest thing is, with faith, anything is possible. Again, just the things that I've seen with my eyes and what God has done in my life, as you'll read in the book, man, anything is possible with faith. Truly. Two, what was the second one?
Biggest lesson this year.
Biggest lesson this year was to just trust him. It's hard, but trust God and the plan, and in whatever comes my way, even if it's sad, you know, if it's devastating, or if it's not what I thought, just trusting him, and also to rest.
Yes. Dude, that's a big one, isn't it? That's a really,
Yes.
really big one. Gosh.
Yes. And then three, my favorite thing about you is, I would say, your personality. I love your personality. You make me feel so special and loved, and like you understand me. And
Trust me, I do.
You cherish like that, and you cherish your guests, and you make your guests feel so just so loved, and you're so bright.
You are just the sweetest. Well, one thing I love about Allie,
you're so much
put
fun.
it in the comments. What's something you love about Allie? Because Allie, we love you, girl. I love your vulnerability. I love you. We sound like we're getting married. Like, it's just like,
Right?
we're just the new best friends, everybody. That's what it is. It's what it is.
What it is, girl.
I am so grateful for the power that has come out of your vulnerability, because it's a power, dude. And so I hope everyone goes and gets this book. Everywhere they sell words, you can get it, right? Everyone can get this where they sell books.
Everywhere.
We'll put all of the links on it. Allie, I'm obsessed. We will one day hug. It's going to be
I can't wait.
It's going to be.
I literally cannot wait. And I'm just giving you the biggest virtual hug. Thank you again. You're so awesome. I'm just going to leave that there. You're so awesome. Thank you again.
So sweet. Thanks, babe. So good to see y'all. See you soon.
You too. Thank you.
Bye, babe.
Bye, guys.
We love her. Don't you just love her? She is the sweetest. Allie, thank you. We are just so grateful for the work you put into this book. And I hope that you will go and get this book, Finding Your Harmony, Dream Big, Have Faith, and Achieve More Than You Can Imagine. Our beautiful friend, Allie, Brooke. Don't worry, we'll have her on Lightworkers for a fourth time. Like, I'm pretty sure they've already scheduled it. It's just going to be a thing now. So we love you guys so much. My name is Elise again, and thank you for joining us today on A Lighter Note. Stay safe. Get the masks, our Lightworkers masks. Make sure you go on Facebook and check out my conversation with Kathy Lee Gifford, and set your Netflix timers for Country Ever After coming up soon. Until next time, love you. Mean it. I will see you guys soon.